Today's topic is
our top 5 controversial opinions plus 1.
Contrast paints are not for beginners, airbrushes are not the devil, and slapchop is the worst thing that ever happened to this hobby.
You're gonna get us killed.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to waypn. I'm Cal.
I'm Sunny.
Number 1. Contrast paints are not for beginners.
You can't say that.
Contrast paints are like no other paints in any paint range. They're not even like watercolors. They're definitely not like acrylics, and they're a great way to set somebody up to fail.
This includes all contrast clones, speed paints, instant paints, doesn't matter.
And if you're upset by that term, you're a clown.
We recommend starting out with 7 paints: red, blue, yellow, black, white, 2 skin tones that are yours, and a wash.
Just learning the fundamentals.
Including color mixing.
We don't hate contrast paints. We just think that you should paint 10 to 20 models before you start with them.
This will help you understand how your paint works, how it applies, how it dries, and once you figure that out, you can go on to contrast paints.
We don't hate contrast paints. In fact, we use them, but
we just don't recommend it for people who have never painted before.
Number 2. The airbrush is not the devil. Come on, guys. I honestly cannot understand the hate for the airbrush. Listen, we are not living back in the 80s.
Yeah, you can get air compressors that are handheld now.
A cheap airbrush and a cheap compressor mean you will save money after
just 3 rattle cans or spray cans.
Like, honestly, guys, I'm not even talking about painting your whole army. I'm just talking about priming.
Plus, if you have that cheap airbrush there, you can try out different techniques.
Airbrush zenitholing will blow your mind.
You will have the ability to see shadows and light set itself instantly.
This is the number 1 reason to have the tool. You learn as an autodidact by just using the tool.
Plus, you can explore all these different techniques with a peace of mind because it's a cheap item.
Number 3. Slapchop is the worst thing that ever happened to this hobby.
You can't say that either.
No, I'm not joking. It is the worst thing that ever happened to this hobby, primarily because of its name. You're not an artist. You're not somebody who's learning self-meditation. You're not somebody who's expanding their horizons. You're just a 2000s commercial. Well, guess what? I disagree. You are an artist. You are a student of self-meditation, and you are expanding your horizons.
The term slapchop diminishes the fact that anything worth doing will be hard at first.
Not only that, but it also gives the worst techniques for beginners.
When it comes to dry brushing, what is the number 1 natural thing that you're going to do? Move the brush up and down.
But you're not meant to move it up and down. You're only meant to go down.
This is to simulate shadows, and if you move the brush upwards, you're gonna hit them.
What's the number 1 problem that new hobbyists have when it comes to assembly?
Mold lines.
And what technique accentuates mold lines more than any other?
Dry brushing.
I can't think of a worse way to start hobbyists off by diminishing them and accentuating their faults.
Words have power.
You're not doing slapchop. You're doing grisaille or a dry brush zenithal.
You are an artist. We don't care whether you clean your mold lines or drill your gun barrels. All we care about is that you stay in the hobby.
And having chalky models and not understanding why your models don't look like everyone else's, that's a great way to have someone quit.
You want to use the dry brush zenithal technique? Go for it. We don't mind. We just don't want to see people quit.
Number 4. Dry brushing is not a beginner technique.
What are you saying?
Dry brushing isn't even dry brushing, it's slightly moist brushing.
Yeah, I guess you're right on that.
Artist Opus is a great resource in learning dry brushing. Check them out.
Another reason why dry brushing is not a beginner technique because what brush are you using?
All layer brushes are effectively the same, but when it comes to dry brushing, are you using a round brush, a chisel head?
Is it a soft brush, a stiff brush?
Is it hog hair? Is it horse hair? Is it synthetic?
These things actually matter when it comes to dry brushing.
Is dry brushing bad? No, we like it. We think it's a good technique, but it's certainly not the beginner technique that people make it out to be.
It requires much more brush control and nuance to understand how to make it work well.
Number 5. Brush control is the most underrated skill ever.
What?
Brush control is the most underrated skill ever, and I'll tell you why. Because you can't teach it through a screen. It has to be learned physically.
That's why no YouTuber is ever talking about it.
And it's not a sexy skill. It's not marketable. It's not void slam skibbity number 1. Brush control must be learnt through hard work, through actually painting.
And through actually painting, you'll understand how your brush works, how it flows, how the paint dries, and through that instinctive ability, you will learn how to do it better.
And this learning process varies greatly from person to person because your breath rhythm will be different to other people's.
And yes, even the way you breathe matters.
We did an episode on it where I sounded like Batman as a quick episode, but nobody wants to watch it because, why? It's not sexy.
He wasn't trying to sound like Batman, he was actually sick. It's just one of those obvious facts that there's no cheat code around it. You just gotta work at it.
We hope you enjoyed our controversial opinions.
Stay tuned for number 6.
And as always,
Keep
those
those
brushes
brushes
wet.
wet.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So our final and 6th controversial opinion is that subscriber counts don't matter.
Well, they do if you want to be monetized and want to get sponsors.
Yeah, but this was for our 20k special, and the thing is, look, your subscriber count is only a measure of vanity, really. All that matters is the number of returning viewers you have.
This is true.
The other thing that's true is the quality of your video does not necessarily mean that it's going to have more viewers.
Yeah, or that it will become more popular because we've got some of our, what we believe to be our best works not be very popular.
And some of our most popular works are from when we had a much lower level of quality.
Like our very first What Your Army Colors Say About You video.
Yeah, that was back when we were just recording in our house, which is basically a tin shed.
Yeah, we had the right equipment, but the audio was really off. And especially our color harmony video, the first one we did, but the second time around when we did the Redux, which was way better, we fit more information in it and we had much better quality as well.
I think the information in both of those videos are good, but the way we communicated them, like, for example, the color harmony one was pretty close to how we are now, but the audio quality was way off. But, for example, the Army Colors one, both the quality and how we presented the information were way off compared to how we are now.
Yeah, and we've also tried filmed content and we weren't rewarded with that either.
Yeah, there are some people who are like, oh, you're just a slideshow, and we regularly start showing our hobby content because we have the equipment to film now, and where are these people? They're nowhere to be seen. They're always there to criticize, but they're never there when you need them, when you actually upgrade, when you put the effort in.
Yeah, and that's quite demoralizing.
The other demoralizing part is when we put a tremendous amount of effort into some of our pieces of content. There's 3 pieces that we think back to, and it's not just us. A lot of the commenters have said how good these pieces are, and we're like, yes, we're getting somewhere, we're doing something, and then they never went anywhere.
The 3 videos are why 40k is the setting of the Elegiac Hero, the internet is the warp, and why Bad App War will always be peak Warhammer fiction.
Everybody has said in the Elegiac Hero one how great they think it is. They said that they felt like it was moving. Some people said that they were even moved to tears.
Yeah, and I think our intentions came through a lot with the audio, with the editing, to really convey these emotions, and it really touched you guys. But in the end, it didn't go anywhere, which is so demoralizing because the comments show that these are good pieces.
Not only that, but the Elegiac Hero is one of the few pieces still where we've got no dislikes on it. It's one of the few pieces where people are just like, yeah, this is so good. I will admit that I stuffed up the music audio at the end. The Rumble version is better, where I fixed that, but that doesn't make sense why people didn't click on it. If everybody clicked away at that moment, I'd be like, yep, I'm the stuff up. I get it. And that's what's really demoralizing when you're a YouTuber, when you put all of this tremendous effort into something and then your low effort content gets very rewarded.
And our low effort is a lot higher than a lot of other people's.
Speaking of effort, I think that the internet is the warp is our most creative piece ever. Like, not even by a small margin, by the furthest margin you could imagine.
Yeah, every intention came through, judging by this one really great comment. It's the first non-member comment that we've got that said this. They said that they feel it in all caps and that this video was going to be quite divisive, but it earned us their membership.
Yeah, and the reason why we really loved that comment is because of how they went through it. They said that they loved our creative edge, and they said that they loved the video because it itches and grinds and they can feel it. And we're okay with it being divisive, but it's so frustrating because it's just not seen.
And with the Bad War video, Cal practically dragged me through the content.
Well, the thing is, I wanted you to know the Badab War before we started this. And the thing is, you had such a human reaction to the Badab War. You got so viscerally upset at certain parts.
Yeah, like Stibor Lazaric.
Yeah, you love that guy, don't you?
I hate Stibor Lazaric.
But I remember a few times where you actually did head slaps and you actually you screamed out. You're like, why? Why are you doing this?
Yeah. I felt the pain of the Lufthuron, you know? It was just too much. It was too much to bear.
And I think that it really shows in that. Like, for example, I didn't encourage this at all, but when you put the Karen haircut on the Firehawks, and I was just like, oh my good Lord.
Isn't it fitting, though?
But with the commentary of that one and our follow-up, Badab Why Wars Start, I feel like these are videos that you could show to people who were somewhat interested in the hobby or they were curious, and you could have a back and forth between a guy and a gal, and you could see where the appeal was.
Yeah, and it would be a great way to perhaps bring someone into the hobby because it intrigued them.
Yeah, and I just felt like that's why this is so frustrating, because some of the times our best work goes nowhere and our worst work is our prominent example.
Yeah.
And the final thing is we really love the community aspect of this. We try so hard to engage with people. Some of the times that's a mistake. But we think that there's so many genuine people out there in the community who have something to add of value. Like,
especially seeing our waypn Facebook group and the resource of people that we've basically built.
Sure, but not just there. I mean, here on YouTube, there's so many people who come at us with ideas, or there's some perspective shifts that I've had by just reading the comments.
Yeah, and like things that we just haven't considered, and it's wonderful to see these things.
So even though having 20,000 subscribers is more or less just vanity for us, and it's the returning people who matter, the people who continually engage, that's the most important thing. I really appreciate all of you guys, and we do take note of all of you guys who comment and come back. We really do. In fact, it's been creepy for some people.
Yeah, because like, they've been surprised. Oh wow, you actually remembered me. Well, we like to pay attention, you know.
Yeah, we care.